Action!
Hey, I noticed a decoration around the wall. Is Chinese New Year coming up?
Oh, yes it is. Chinese New Year is one of the biggest celebrations in China, and it's mostly celebrated here in the Philippines. It's a great time to learn about Chinese cultures, especially their modes of communication.
Really? What's the communication like in China? How do they talk to each other?
Well, in China, communication is really rooted in respect. People tend to be indirect to avoid confrontation. For example, instead of directly saying no, they might say, I'll think about it, or maybe, to be polite.
Interesting. So they don't say things directly?
Exactly. They also use honorifics, titles to show for respect. For example, instead of just calling someone by their first name, they might say 老师, that is to mean teacher, or 先生 means mister. It's all about showing politeness and not being too blunt about it.
Okay, cool. So, what about the body language? Do they do something special with that?
Good question. Non-verbal communication is just as important. For example, instead of shaking hands firmly, they might bow slightly or nod their heads to show respect. Also, they avoid direct eye contact, as too much can be seen as rude or aggressive.
I see. So, it's a bit different from here, where eye contact usually means confidence.
Exactly. Another thing is that hand gestures are important. Pointing with one finger is considered rude, so people use their whole hand just to use gestures.
Wow, I didn't know there were so many things to think about when communicating. How do they communicate? In writing or on social media?
In China, written communication is highly valued. The Chinese writing system, with its beautiful characters as a symbol of cultural pride, people also love calligraphy there.
That's awesome. What about texting or using apps?
Well, most people use WeChat, which is kind of like a mix of texting, social media, and even banking. Even on WeChat, communication tends to be formal and polite, especially in business contexts. So it's not like casual chats on Facebook or WhatsApp.
Since Chinese culture is so big here in the Philippines, do you see the same communication style here?
Definitely, the Filipino culture community here keeps a lot of those traditions alive. You can see it in how we speak politely, especially to elders. Even in business, communication is more about building relationships than being aggressive.
I've noticed that too. I remember during Chinese New Year, everyone uses greetings like Gong Hei Pa Chai and Sinyan Kale.
Exactly. It's a way of saying, it's a way of showing respect and wishing others prosperity. Even though Chinese culture is so old, it continues to influence how we communicate today.
Thanks for the info. I learned so much about how communication works in China.
You're welcome. It's always great to learn about different cultures. I hope this gives you a new perspective on how communication can vary around the world.
Definitely, Gong Hei Pa Chai to you.
Gongxi Fa Chai, wishing you a prosperous and happy years ahead.